Oh, welcome in, everyone. We are live. I am Jack Neary from FantasyFarmSports.com. We're live with Old Gamer GQ Greg Kratzer on a Sunday. What's going on, Greg?
Not too much. Excited to be back with our third podcast. 3 weeks in a row. Excited about this. We're doing
Not
it.
only are we not only are we consistent, we're exciting, right? We're bringing you the latest and greatest in sports news. You know, a lot of places will give you thoughts and theories, but me and Greg aren't here. We're here for clicks, but we're here for the truth, right?
That's right. No matter who we hurt, we are here for the truth.
So we're talking let's start with the NBA playoffs, right? Let's unwrap this ball of twine. The NBA playoffs has truly begun. We're past the play-in games. Any first thoughts?
Just that I'm hurt that my Warriors lost the way they did. Klay Thompson couldn't do it again. 2 years in a row he hurt us. So I'm not saying I'm excited to see what the next chapter is with the Warriors, but after seeing him this year, I'm excited to see what we're going to do. He has to go, maybe unload Green's contract, keep Steph, of course. He has to retire a Warrior. If not, then there's no God if that happens.
So my most exciting, when I turn the Warriors on, I like watching Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is me. I like watching Steph Curry's fantastic. He's really fun to watch. But you're also looking for the next generation, right?
Yes.
Draymond Green can still do what he's always done at that same level. He's
Mm-hmm.
gotten older. There's gray in the beard. We see all of it. Klay Thompson doesn't hit those shots anymore. Never been like this wild athlete, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Shooter.
No, but he's always hit those shots. He's always been able to hit those shots.
Yep, absolutely. But I'm really excited for that Kuminga. Ooh, Kuminga. Yeah. I'll tell you what. He's the only guy that I've ever seen get off the floor in a long time as fast as Vince Carter used to.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'll tell you what. You're watching the TV, bang, Kuminga's in the air, and it's too late. He's in the air and it's too late. I don't know what his vert is. I haven't, but as far as eye test, I don't know. And he thinks he's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. But I love that swagger. I love that swagger.
And Steve Kerr goes, yeah, he thinks he's Kobe Bryant, but I keep telling him maybe shoot for Sean Marion. By the way, the Matrix was his nickname.
Yeah.
I'm okay. But that's the theme of this playoffs, really, right? Because the NBA is searching for new stars.
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
They're not searching, they're grasping at this point.
They are. And the NBA, that they have a problem right now. They need certain teams to come to the forefront, right? Because in my thought process last year, what Jimmy Butler did for the NBA and to the Bucks and then to the Celtics getting to the finals was huge.
Yes.
Because he gave fun press conferences, right? We see him showing up with flat hair and froed out. He's a character. You need that. If you think the game just matters and the character that plays it doesn't, you're crazy.
You're right. But also, when you watch the game, you've seen his determination. He willed his team to win.
Oh, it's got to be there.
Yeah, and you could see that on a certain player that has it. You can see them will a team to win.
What were they down? 4 seconds left. He got to the free throw line. And listen, man, you're down by 1 point. You got to hit both these free throws. And he did. Look, you got to have and it looked like he was just sitting there in the park by himself, no fans. I think it was in Boston Garden. I mean, what Jimmy Butler did last year was you rolled your chair right over and sat down with, I don't know who's good here, whether it's going to be the Celtics or the Heat, but Jimmy's putting on a show. He's getting in your face, right? There were photogenic moments with him and other players getting into it, and the NBA loved it.
Yes.
The NBA now, to me, there's 4 teams to me that are interesting. It's the Knicks because they play old school Tom Thibodeau, New York Knickerbocker basketball. Knicks for sure. Okay. And, it's three cats from Villanova: Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Dante DiVincenzo that really drive that team. You got the T-Wolves and Anthony Edwards, and the NBA is pushing the, could he be the next Michael Jordan? They're always searching for the next Mike. But they need Edwards to be good and get past Phoenix. And by the way, he gets past Phoenix, now that narrative grows stronger.
Yeah. Quick interjection here.
Sure.
You talked about Tibbs from the coach from the Knicks. If you notice, the last time before right now, the Bulls are starting to come around where they're starting to be a good team. But look at when the last time they had a good team. It's when he was there. They might have not put up a lot of points like the rest of the NBA, which was a knock against them, but they would win 81-78. 85-81. And they won consistently, but it wasn't splashy enough. They got rid of him, which I never understood why they got rid of him. They were winning. They were making the playoffs with him.
Well, I actually have the answer.
Okay.
The answer was this. It was upstairs wanted to manipulate his players' minutes. And he absolutely shut it down.
Okay.
So the Derrick Rose thing happened. And they came to him and they said, maybe if he didn't play as many minutes, maybe if he did this, maybe we could have managed his situation better. And he basically slammed the door in their face.
Gotcha.
And they played, and he really gained power because he went out and he goes, we don't have Derrick Rose, but let's go out and beat this $100 million team in the Nets.
Yes.
And he made Joakim Noah the center of the offense. By the way, he's not an offensive player, but he plays a Draymond Green role. And that team also had Jimmy Butler. And what did he do? Jimmy Butler was averaging 45 minutes a game. Yeah, Bulls were playing a lot of overtime games.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was putting in the time. And they went, here you go again. And he goes, I just won. And I'm going to win again. I'm rolling with Jimmy and Joakim. And they said, you're cutting their minutes or you're gone. And he went, I'll play him as long as I'd like.
Yeah.
And the thing in New York now is he's built a winner. And New York recognized Chicago's shortcomings and went, how long do you want to play them? Not a problem.
Yeah. And the thing about the Knicks is they built them with his type of players.
Yeah.
They didn't try to fit a square peg in a round hole.
And players he wanted, players that wanted the ball more and didn't want to play better defense. He went, hey, look, I'm having a tough time with these guys. And he goes, and they went, who do you want? Instead of making it work, they went, which player would you be happy with? And he went, get me Anunoby out of Toronto. And they're like, done. And I thought that was interesting that they went out and they picked up a player that is mostly defensive minded because Thibodeau had his 3 offensive guys and he had his, he's happy getting Josh Hart the ball a little bit more. Hart, for all of Hart's shooting woes, he gets you 13 rebounds a game and he's 6'4".
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck dealing with him because he's a problem. He's not quite as big, but he's a little bit of Jimmy Butler.
Okay. All right.
He's a little bit of Jimmy Butler. And as long as we're comparing those Bulls teams, he's got a center who does all the dirty work. He's got Anunoby, who's 6'8", and I'm not saying he's as good as Kawhi Leonard, but he'll shut you down. And that's what he has fun with. He's interested in that. DiVincenzo really learned out in Golden State He learned out in Golden State that it was really important to get 200 shots up every day, and he played with Curry and wanted to be in the league and all this other stuff. The consistency mattered, and he learned it. And Brunson's been told he's been too short, too slow, too this, too that. You're a backup in Dallas. It's been fun having you.
Yeah.
His whole life. And so he fits in with the Thibodeau's. He looks a little bit like Derrick Rose too, by the way. Not as talented. But he does look a little bit like Derrick Rose. But I think the Knicks, the Wolves, the Pelicans, because Zion Williamson's always been interesting. And as long as he stays in the gym, he's world-class athlete. And he really does jump off there. He's one of those guys. And the Celtics, then the NBA needs the Celtics because they've been dreaming and hoping they've come on for years. And Jason Tatum has fallen short of every expectation.
Yes, he has. He has. During the playoffs, anyways. Regular season, he's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, but Jaylen Brown's been much better defensively. He's been much better getting teammates involved. The Drew Holiday and Derek White, them coming onto a team should make your job easier, and you should do a little bit better. And to be quite honest, all they've done is gone, well, I mean, these were supposed to be your points, and you haven't scored them. I have noticed Jason Tatum struggles against players around his same height. So the Michael Porter Jr.'s in Denver, although not a great defender, does just enough to aggravate Jason. And you know, if all right, now we found the blueprint. How do we stop Jason Tatum? Well, we found it. Right?
That's another thing too, is I don't think that's an old school move that a lot of teams don't do anymore. Is you always have that player, those old school teams, like those teams in the 80s, early 90s, that aggravated the star player, that would just get under their skin enough to make them do something stupid.
Yeah, you know, it's all about psychology. Defensive players don't get paid. You know, the guys who win the psych war don't get paid, you know.
But I believe every team needs that. They need that one guy.
And you're right. And the master of it was Dennis Rodman, because he found a way to get paid because of who he was, not because of what he did. I just get rebound. Yeah, but you do more. And outside the court, you know, you're riding motorcycles, right? You're in WWE events, right? WCW events, right? Like Dennis Rodman built a brand around what he did. And these other guys want to be scorers and get paid.
Let's see. We got a comment on here from Chef Nick. MPJ has a defense rating of 118.9. He's a stud on defense.
Is that Michael Porter Jr. now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. And you know what? He's gotten better. He's gotten better because Malone's asked him to do more. He's asked him to get grittier. By the way, once he got past those back injuries, right? Oh, this is great how this comes as Shift Nick.
Look at
All
this.
right, yeah. Michael Porter Jr. has
we're stepping up our stream here, guys.
This is fantastic. No, and you know what though? He's right though. But I'm just saying he is a good defender. But for how much Tatum's offense has gotten play, right? Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, right? For how much offense his offense has gotten play, you know, Michael Porter Jr. is the exact reason why he'll never be a star. You know, when Reggie Miller guarded Michael Jordan, Mike still got points. Tatum disappears in Denver. And I think if you put a bigger Paul George, if he cared about defense more, OG Anunoby, I'm telling you what, if the Knicks get to Boston, you're going to find real deficiencies in Tatum's game. I would take.
Well, I mean, I think you've seen deficiencies in Tatum's game the last 3 years in the playoffs.
Yep. Oh yeah. He doesn't like elbows. He doesn't like pushing. He doesn't like. If you're talking about guys that couldn't play in the 80s, I think Tatum's an awesome answer.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, all the tools. Doesn't like an elbow. And listen, I don't like elbows either. But you got to learn how to deal. You got to learn how to deal with them. You got to learn how to deal with, you know, there is a physical aspect of this game. And, you know, sports medicine's never been better. So you should be able to deal with it just fine.
And I always thought Tatum had a good frame on him. I never thought of him as tall and lanky. I always thought of him as a solid frame. So that's able to take the pounding the NBA gives.
You know, maybe he doesn't keep weight on like Kevin Durant, though. He's always been thin.
See, Kevin Durant, I mean, I know he's tall. He just doesn't have the eye test. He looks tall and lanky.
No, I know. But I think that Tatum, you know, some people burn calories quicker. And I think getting up and down the court, he stays thin longer.
Chef Nick again. He came in late, but he's a choke artist in the playoffs. He's a ghost. He's correct, though. That's exactly what we're saying about him.
And you know, but so Chef Nick, this is great that you mentioned this, because to me, I've also now started to see it against a type of player. Like, I watched
Mhm.
Boston play Denver, and they were neck and neck, and I just when Porter Jr., like you said, he's become a much better defender, but when that taller defender got on, Tatum didn't want anything to do with it. 0.
Mhm.
He passed it. Whereas Jaylen Brown might not look as good against Jimmy Butler, but he thinks he's as good as him, and if you don't have that, maybe you just don't belong.
Mhm.
I'm not saying Tatum doesn't belong in the league, but I don't think you belong on a pedestal where you've been put.
Yeah, when you mentioned the Nuggets, they're just a different animal, I believe, in the playoff. Uh, Jokic just he's in better he doesn't pass the eye test, but he just gets the job done. Like, you look at him, you're like, "Who's this guy?" Just by the eye test alone, you're like, "Who's this guy?" Even when you watch him, he doesn't move the greatest, he doesn't move the fastest, but he's tactical at what he does, and he's able to do it all, but you just don't understand how. You look at him, you're
Once
like,
upon
"How?"
once upon a time, there were considered 2 best centers, in the world, and one of the, it's in the air in Denver. Yeah, maybe it is, but, like I said, Tatum travels other places in the playoffs, and, maybe he should capture some of that Boston air, right, and just put it into his oxygen before he starts games. I don't know. Put it in, like, a soda bottle or something. But,
That's
Jokic
one thing. Oh, go ahead. I wanna
once
talk
upon
about
no, it's okay.
Denver in general, the state of Denver and their teams, but go ahead, finish your thought.
Once upon a time, the 2 best centers, well, the United States had him, right? And, his name was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Mhm.
renamed from Lou Alcindor. We had one of those guys. The other guy was kind of a big guy like Jokic, not necessarily muscular, but used his body properly, and that guy is Arvydas Sabonis.
Okay.
He was considered the only guy in the Olympics that the United States were a little worried about, and we
Mhm.
got him later on in his career in Portland. But before that, before he became he was an older man running around out there, Arvydas Sabonis was a real problem. I mean, Rasheed Wallace said he had trouble scoring against him as an older man in practice.
Mhm.
That's a little interesting, right? So the muscle doesn't matter. Some guys are just big and they could take
Yeah,
it,
yeah. Yep, yep. Mhm.
you know.
No, listen, I agree. It's just, it's a lot easier when, a lot easier to understand what they're doing when they pass the eye test. When you look at a guy, you're like, wow, just he's a physical specimen. I understand why he's able to do what he's able to do. Like when you look at, even though I'm not a huge fan of him, but LeBron, when you look at him, you're like, holy crap, look at this guy, you know?
Yeah.
And you see him on the floor and you're like, well, that's why he's able to do what he's able to do. It's just by looking at him. You look at Jokic and you're like, how is he able to do that?
Jokic is so funny because you know what he wanted to be when he grew up? Well, like when he was a little boy? He wanted to be a jockey.
Oh, really?
That's the truth, yeah,
That's
and
funny.
he said there was an interview that one of the reporters, the NBA reporters gave him, they said, "What did you wanna be growing up?" And he said, "I wanted to be a jockey, I love horses." And he said,
Hmm.
I play in the NBA, I enjoy basketball, and obviously with how big I am, but every day I hang out with my horses, it breaks my heart that I can't stand on one and go for a real ride, without hurting them." Jokic cares about his horses. The NBA is like a job to him, like it's our job. It's a means
Hmm.
to an end so he can get back to his horses. It's quite a joke that God played on him. 7 foot tall, but you're gonna like horses and you're gonna want to ride horses. Like he loves
Uh,
horses.
yes, yeah, that is funny. I didn't know that. Quick
Yeah.
thing about Denver teams that I wanted to say is I used to be a personal trainer years ago, and so I have a background in physical fitness. And you, one of the big things is thin air training, high altitude training, and
Mhm.
it's one thing I never understood is like Denver should be, as far as condition wise, above and beyond every other team in the United States.
Mm.
Agree? Disagree?
So one of the I don't necessarily I know that Utah is huge, has the largest Olympic training facility.
Mhm.
Utah's so I mean, I don't know whether Denver has the grounds for it. I understand that they have the altitude. I don't know if they have the space.
Yeah, the
Whereas Utah
altitude
does.
is listen, I understand when you're training inside, it's a little different, but the Broncos do not train inside; they train outside. So they should be above and beyond everybody else in my eyes when it comes to conditioning.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
with the
I
high
mean,
altitude. Just a quick thought I had. That's it.
well, who else trains there now? Like, even in his extended age, and though he can't compete, it's Lance Armstrong.
Well, you know,
That's the
funny fact is, I forget. I think it's the first two that he won, the first two Tour de France's that he won, that he got
Mhm.
taken away.
Yeah.
Uh, the top 16 players, placements all got
Mhm.
their all. It trickled down to, all right. Well, Lance didn't win it, so this person won it. Well, this person got busted. This person won it. It took the top 16. Every one of them popped for steroids. They don't talk about that. They only talk about Lance. The top 16 places in those two Tour de France's that they took away Lance Armstrong, the top 16 placements tested positive for steroids.
Look at when he first went over there as part of the USPS team, and he couldn't crack the top 25, and he was the
Mhm,
fastest cyclist up and coming in the United States. It was pretty clear to him, what he had to do to compete. Um,
mhm.
would he have done it over again? Yeah, because when you reach an echelon, and there's no higher place to go, no higher mountaintop, unless you get on the level of the competition, you're
Yep.
gonna do it. So,
Mhm.
I think that all it did was maximize his potential, because he was probably the best if it was an even playing field, but it wasn't.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Mhm,
it's always been one of those sports, a lot like racing and the Olympics. I made this joke the other day. I was like, here's the thing with the Olympics. I think, look, we've seen a lot of clean Olympics, right? We've seen a lot of tainted Olympics. Here's what
mhm,
we need to do. And it was joking, but it's kind of true. I know who the fastest guy is without steroids.
mhm.
I have no idea who the fastest guy is with steroids. Get him up there. Just listen. Let them all do it. I want to know who the fastest guy could be at his max performance. Right? Let me see. And we call it Juiced Olympics.
Jack, I don't know if you remember. Jack and I have been friends for years now. We worked at Outback Steakhouse together. But we talked about this when we worked at Outback, having an all steroid Olympics. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that, but we have,
was I
and
all
how
for it then?
great it would be.
Was I all for it then? Because I'm still all for it.
I'm all for it. Listen, you want to juice it up.
I'm sick of my taxpayer dollars going towards investigations towards athletes. Right? Like, if you guys have all these complaints where your money's going. Well, it's going here and it's going here. Look, I want to see the most entertaining game. Barry
Yeah,
Bonds' home runs. I want to see them bigger.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Right?
how
I want to
great
see. I
was
want to see how.
baseball then? How great
Huh?
was baseball then?
Oh, I know. I
Now
know.
it's like, oh, it's a bore fest again. It really
I know.
is.
Oh, like there was never more fun than when you didn't have to buy a ticket to a Giants game, and you just rent a pontoon boat and hope he hit it there. That's the truth.
Mhm.
You know.
Dragon Honeybee, how are you? Thank you for dropping in. We greatly appreciate the support.
We're getting juiced, Dragon. That's what we're doing.
That's right. That's right. Well, me and Jack are being the first steroid podcasters out there. Let's see if
Here
it
we are.
transitions.
Well, first of all, when you go and buy a microphone, right, and it's not a
Which
car,
I
it's a
have a new
dynamic
one coming
microphone.
Monday.
You
I
know
have
what
a
you need to
roadie coming
do to a
Monday.
dynamic microphone? All those SM7Bs and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
need to add juice
Yes, you
so
do.
they sound
Yes.
better. I'm just saying, maybe a little bit of juice ain't so bad.
We got another comment here from we got two more. Clamps, likable clamps.
I want
Bonds
to
was a
talk to
Hall of
likable
Famer
Clamp for a minute.
without.
I want to talk to likable Clamp for a minute because I've had this argument as well. Just let me have this. Barry Bonds. Oh, but he did.
Let's talk about this.
Okay, okay, he did steroids. That's
Mhm.
fine. Okay, then can we please induct him into the Hall of Fame as a Pirate because those numbers were good enough to get to the Hall of Fame without his
Oh,
Giants career.
absolutely.
Wipe off the Giants
Absolutely.
career. I'm going to tell you why he's not going to. Jim Leyland begged him as a Pirate to go to some Writers Award ceremony. And Bonds used to get butt hurt so badly that they would write anything poorly about him that he didn't show up. And Leyland told him, he goes, look at that moment that you didn't show up for the people that are going to go out there to bat for you later on in your career will come back to bite you. Now, I didn't think Bonds was ever envisioning that he was going to go down the steroid track and all this other stuff, but those guys destroyed his career when they had an opportunity. I'm not those guys. I believe that Barry Bonds should be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a Pittsburgh Pirate for that career he put forward.
Absolutely. And let's face it, that whole era was steroid. Everybody was on steroids, from the pitchers to the hitters. So I say just let's mark it up as a learning tool for the major leagues, the MLB. Sorry, and let's get those guys in. You know,
by the
those
way,
guys
steroids became, I believe, steroids became illegal in baseball. I don't know what the actual I forget what the literature is, but it's in the early 2000s.
now
They became illegal in baseball. So here's the argument is that, well, Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and all their records. Hold on just a minute, because performance enhancing drugs only became tested and illegal under a bargaining act in the early 2000s. I'm just saying, federally, bad.
Yes, absolutely.
But baseball didn't really do anything to stop it.
No, because they were giving them numbers, so they didn't care.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm okay
Let's see here. What do we got? We got Dragon Honeybee. I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. You? Listen, I love Cocoa Puffs just as much as the next person, but I try to eat healthy, so.
I like them, but I'm not cuckoo for them. Yeah, damn straight.
Okay.
See, I'm glad. I'm like my Bond steak. No, I'm serious.
Yes.
I just, it was okay for McGuire and Sosa to be on. By the way, I'm gonna say
but it
something
wasn't.
about Sammy Sosa.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Sammy Sosa too. He got nailed not one time cheating, 2 times cheating.
No,
and
but here's
doing 2 different things.
Barry Bonds was a great baseball player without them. Mark McGuire, good baseball player without them.
Yes, good.
Jose
So was able to hit the long ball.
Debatable knucklehead. Okay.
Yeah.
Roger Clemens did steroids when he was 40. What did you think it was, pal? Did you think he was just still the Rocket at 40 years old? Come on, don't be stupid.
You think he was taking eugenics?
Yeah. But
no, it wasn't happening.
So my point, though, is that Sammy Sosa was a lifetime 221 hitter for your Chicago White Sox.
No, Cubs, not for the White Sox.
No, Sammy Sosa was on the White Sox before the Cubs. And he was such a bad player that the White Sox not only let him go, they went, oh, you want to go across town? We don't care. Goodbye. You're not good enough.
Shows how much because I never even knew. I didn't know.
Never even knew. Nobody knows because he wasn't a good baseball player.
Yeah.
He caught that lightning in a bottle that some doctor gave him. Started hitting home runs in Wrigley Field. Was it fun for a summer? It was. But it was a sad ending.
But then when he got caught doing that and he found out he couldn't do that anymore, he tried corking a bat. Look how that worked out for him.
Yeah, because he wasn't good. And now he runs around looking like the cowboy version of Michael Jackson. Look it up. Look it up. Don't at me. Look him up. He looks like Cowboy Sammy. He's the Cuban cowboy.
Sammy. All right. Well, what else do we got for NBA? What else do we got for NBA?
So I want to
kind of got off track here.
It's been a super hot topic. So just let me work my way through this. I think the NBA does have a problem. Okay, no real stars and no willing villains. Okay, let me give you an example of a star. Caitlin Clark is an absolute star. Okay, a star gets people that wouldn't normally tune in to their television screen. Right? It's called asses in seats. That's what a star does. All of these people, clamoring for the NBA and WNBA pay rate to be the same need to be reminded of where each league is. They do. Right? Although it has a problem with aging stars and no real villains, the NBA is established. Understand that. To this day, Michigan State versus Indiana State is the most watched college basketball game ever. And it was as much about race as it was basketball. Bird and Magic went on to bring the NBA to the forefront of American sports before passing the torch to Michael Jordan. Caitlin Clark and Angela Reese are the two that will transcend the WNBA over the next decade. And they'll get paid later, not now. And eventually pass the torch to their Michael Jordan, whomever she is. What do you think about that?
I like it. I like it. It makes total sense. I mean, it is an up and coming league. They are missing those couple stars that are coming into the league. And Caitlin Clark, I mean, what she did for women's college basketball is amazing. How much they tuned in to watch her. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with it.
If you've had your Cheryl Miller and you want to compare her to Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell, I'm okay. Okay, if you have your Diana Taurasi and you want to compare her to Pete Maravich or Jerry West, okay. But we learned about those guys after Bird and Matt. You went, oh my God, there were other guys doing that. Oscar Robertson. You didn't know who these players were.
Yeah.
You really didn't until they were on TV after the Bird Magic thing. The WNBA will be widely recognized as beginning now. You don't get paid now for what's you get paid after. And I think, it's a disservice to Caitlin Clark and Angela Reese to compare them to a league that's been we're comparing them to the pay rate of a league that's been established for 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm very sorry that that's how it is, but you guys aren't making the right comparison. You're comparing men and women when you need to be comparing the establishments for which they play in. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's like comparing, an up and coming shoe company to Nike.
Yeah, you can't.
It's unfair. Let's recognize them for what they've done, for what they're doing, and what is going up on the horizon for later.
One already laid the groundwork, as opposed to the other one is just laying the groundwork.
Yeah, it's completely different. Why would I compare this mansion over here, and these workers who have already built this and, they're getting paid for this, and these workers over here aren't getting, well, because they're not a proven brand yet. And I know that we want to play the men versus women thing, but it's not fair because it's a different sport with different rules, and they're at different points, in their rise. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But women's basketball has a real star where the NBA is now kind of searching. They're in limbo, right? That's what I want to say about that. It's been a hot topic all week. It's been, memes that have been, out there, and they're not nice ones, by the way. And all they're doing is they're trying to bait, people into arguing against each other for pay raises and pay rates and all this other. And why can't we just be excited for what the WNBA is about to become?
Go ahead.
Instead of sitting there and going, well, they should be getting $30 million a year because this guy's getting 30. Listen, I'm gonna explain something to you. Michael Jordan started getting, he was one of the biggest stars on the planet, and was getting $30 million a year at the end.
Yeah, he signed. Nobody realizes that he signed all 1-year contracts towards the end of his contract. Every year was a 1-year contract.
But it was at the end. He wasn't making what you think he was. It was all endorsements. It was all this other stuff. And you're sitting there arguing for someone else's money when you should be sitting there going, we're about to take a great ride here. And some of the women who have played in the past are also taking shots because I understand that their greatness is being questioned too, and they're all falling into the argument of who's better instead of sitting there going, hey, you know what? He's pretty good.
Yeah.
That guy's pretty good. This one's pretty good.
They always want to make it men against women, that argument, instead of just arguing the sport itself.
Yeah, argue the talents. I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yes.
watch Caitlin Clark play against Kevin Durant.
No, no, who does? Nobody
I don't
wants
want to
to,
do it.
you know?
I want to tune into TV over here and go, hey, you know what? What she does is fun. Then I want to tune
Mhm.
into over here and go, what he does is fun. I
And
don't
if you
need to.
would really wanna get technical, if you watch the women's game, it is more true basketball than what men's are.
Yeah, it's pure
It's a
basketball where
lot more XOs, pure basketball as opposed to the men's.
yeah, yeah. And I'm perfectly happy watching it, but I'm not gonna sit here and go, you know, Serena Williams should have to play Andre Agassi. Why?
Mhm.
Why? So I can sit here and go, she really wasn't that good. Well, why do I want to do that?
Mhm.
That seems like an extreme waste of time. And to argue someone else's worth and their paycheck is even worse.
Mhm.
That's what I want to say about all the memes that are popping up about what Caitlin Clark's getting paid and what she's worth. Oh, Bob White's a slay. Listen, I'm just
Yeah.
being honest.
Mhm.
And that's what we're here for. We're here we lift people up here.
Mhm.
It's real easy to tear people down.
Very easily, yeah. Yep. T Easy to
I'll
beat
root for
somebody
Barry
while they're
Bonds.
already
In the
down.
same sentence, I'll root for Caitlin Clark.
Mhm. Now let's face it, I mean, anybody that has watched her, uh, she's amazing. I mean, there's only one reason why anybody turned into Iowa basketball, and that
Yeah,
was to see her.
yeah.
She's an amazing, amazing talent.
She's a fun watch.
Yes, yeah. Mhm.
You know how much she's I don't stop that. I
Yeah.
don't wanna know how much she makes. I just wanna
Mhm.
watch, and then the chips will fall where they do. You
Yeah.
know, people tend to pay attention to that stuff afterwards.
Mhm.
Um, we got a draft coming up, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we
As
do.
long as we're talking about teams and things looking to improve,
Mhm.
we got a draft coming up, and it's the NFL draft. For all you guys that hearts were broken or you didn't want to need to watch football in December. I'm sorry, but every year we got a chance to get better. Just to give you guys a little heads up, I still am. I'm a big Phil Jackson guy, and when he took over the Knicks, it was fun to watch. Whether the draft was going to be good or bad every year. We got Porzingis, and then we got a couple not so much good guys. But I watched a lot of college basketball when I wasn't watching pro basketball because you know we were going to get one of those guys, hopefully.
Mhm.
Um, so I think this draft coming up, is really exciting for teams that couldn't participate or didn't do as well. And I want to ask Greg and you guys out there, out of the top 10 teams in the draft this year, which includes the Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Cardinals, Chargers, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Jets, and because the Bears get 2 picks, Minnesota gets a say at 11.
Mhm.
Which team is going to be the most improved this year? I love the question. I want to know who's going to make this Detroit Lions run soon.
Let's see here. I mean, me personally, I think it's gonna be the Chargers. I think the Chargers have, with, Harbaugh in there, uh,
Ooh,
I think he's gonna make a world of a difference. They already have a quarterback. They have a couple solid players on defense, no matter how many points that they gave up last year. They still have a couple good people on defense, and Harbaugh will didn't he just bring in Greg Roman?
did he?
I think he did. If I see I'm pretty sure that's what I seen. So then he has his offensive coordinator back also that he had with the Niners. Like,
Yeah, he loves Greg
I
Roman.
really do. I think they're gonna end up being the, uh, the surprise team out of the top 10. We have a couple people here. Clamp says Commanders.
Commanders, all right, so
Yes.
I kinda like the Commanders.
Okay,
I
I know
think
you
that
briefly talked about that before, so elaborate a little bit.
um, I got a feeling that the Commanders, with their new ownership, and I think stuff like
Mhm,
that matters, right? They got, I think partially the 76ers ownership. They've got Magic Johnson in the building.
mhm.
Um, I kinda believe that the Commanders within the next 3 years are going to win that division.
Okay.
I know the Cowboys are there. The Giants have no clue. The Eagles, to me, are falling apart. And I think the Commanders are drafting JJ McCarthy. I've said this once, I'll say it
Yeah,
again.
you haven't said it once, you've been pounding the table on it, so
Yeah, I think that I'll tell you who they're not drafting. Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels thought this whole meeting the other day was just gonna be a meeting with
yeah,
him.
but his
And
agent thought the same thing too, by the way.
and because he's not getting the Heisman, Caleb Williams, love,
Mhm.
he's starting to bristle a little bit. And the only team that's giving him this Heisman, red carpet love is the Patriots.
Yeah.
They're sold on Jaden Daniels. That third
Mhm.
pick to me is not going. I do believe that if the Commanders move down, it's still because they're taking JJ McCarthy. And they're
I
gonna
think
move
they
down with a
could
team
move
that was
down.
not rumored to take him. So they'll move down for a team that doesn't need a quarterback. Um,
Number 5 with the Chargers, number 4 with Arizona.
Tennessee.
I mean, but they need a trade partner, that's the thing.
Well,
Would
Tennessee can
Tennessee
move
trade up?
if Tennessee trades up. I don't know what they exactly trade up for, okay? But if you
Wide
move from 2
receiver?
to
Would you
7,
get Marvin Harrison?
maybe. If you're Tennessee, maybe. But,
You know?
but you're still not you're yeah, and you would jump ahead of Arizona,
Mhm.
and Washington would still be ahead of teams that valued McCarthy.
Correct.
So I don't know what happens, but I think the Commanders look at they signed Austin Eckler. You know, I don't know. He's probably a little bit on the back end, but they're doing some stuff. New coach, yeah.
Mhm.
These are all trending topics, right? Dan Quinn, for his defensive shortcomings, and I say defensive shortcomings because coaches that have played against his defense, um, or that knew him from Atlanta, tend to do really well against him. But he
Mhm.
hires well. Dan Quinn hires well. So he's gonna
Mhm.
hire guys and put them in real good positions
Absolutely.
for the
Absolutely.
Commanders.
Mhm.
Chief Nick thinks the Pats. Chef Nick, I'm
Chef Nick.
sorry.
Yep, yep,
Cooking
yep.
things.
So he says the Pats, and then, he has another comment to follow that, is Pats trade the 3rd to Minnesota. What do you think about that? I think we talked about that, a couple weeks ago.
All right, so it could happen because and
They
this
move
is
up to get their QB.
this is the same conversation that I've been having, Nick. I believe that Jaden Daniels is the gateway drug to getting Justin Jefferson. Right? All of a sudden, you buy the drug off the guy and you get Justin Jefferson wants to play with somebody who's exciting, and I think that can be his buddy because he sees what Jamar Chase has in Joe Burrow, and he wants that again. And I think that if he can find some kind of LSU connection, there can be some excitement. Now, if New England does it, they have the most cap space next year. It won't be this year. Next year
Mhm,
for Justin Jefferson. They will buy out him from the Vikings, which
mhm.
is why I have the Vikings taking Roma Duze because I don't think they're going to be able to, unless they get Jaden Daniels. I don't think they're going to be able to coax Jefferson into staying. So they draft
Mhm.
the wide receiver. In the same respect, if the Patriots keep that third pick, and draft Jaden Daniels, and next year find their way to Justin Jefferson, all of a sudden they become interesting again. The Bill Belichick years will be remembered and forgotten for a new era, a real new era. What do you think about that?
I don't think they have the draft capital to move up to number 3, to be honest with you. So I don't think that would happen.
The 23rd and the 11th pick couldn't get you to 3?
No, they would have to throw in next year's first too to get it. Remember, we talked about the rating system to move up the difference between 4 and 3?
Yeah, explain that to us again.
Yeah. All right. Every draft position has a number assigned to it. And when you trade for a pick, you need to trade enough picks to equal that number
Where can I
that
find this
draft
information
position
at?
is worth. What was that?
Where can I find this at? Like, where?
Anywhere on Google. Just draft. Type in draft ratings. Draft rating
Well, you don't have to do it now. I was just wondering, if people wanted to really
position.
find out and get on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, just draft rating positions. You'll be able to find out what each position is worth. But anyways, like I said, every position has a certain number, and you need to equate that number in order to move up.
Okay.
That's the draft point system. Like I said, the difference between 3 and 4 is huge. 3 is, I think it was like 2,400 points it's worth.
Mhm.
And the draft pick value chart. That's what it is, Nick. Draft
Okay.
pick value chart.
Draft pick Chef Nick
Yeah.
cooking it up for us.
Yes, he is. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And the difference between 3 and 4 is, I think 2,400 3 is worth, or 2,800, and then the next number 4 is like worth 2,800. So it's a big difference. It's a difference between 2 first rounders and 3 first rounders. 2,200 and 1,800 from 3 to 4. Nick's doing the work for us here.
Oh, look at that.
Right
Okay.
there it is. Look at that. That's the difference.
All
So
right.
that's the difference between a one first round pick right there, which would be next year's.
So Minnesota could probably
the better
get
question. The better question here is Jalen Daniels worth 2 first round picks this year and a first round pick next year?
I think he thinks he is.
I'm not saying what he thinks he is. Does the Vikings value that? To piggyback off of what you said before about to make Justin Jefferson happy, that's their number one concern right now. Should be making Justin Jefferson happy if they're picking an offensive player. And with that, yes, moving up to number 3 would make sense, and grabbing Daniels.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, my thing is they're not going offense. They're definitely not drafting another wide receiver because they still want to hold out hope that they're going to get Justin Jefferson. My thing is they have to replace Hunter on that line. They have to address that. They have to either draft Latu, Verse, Chop Robinson, which that's too high, I think. So Latu or Verse, that's the 2 guys.
Well, let me have, so once upon a time, there was an old gamer who told me that this draft was loaded for offensive linemen.
Yes, and it is.
Okay.
Wow,
Okay.
it is.
Okay. So I could take a wide receiver who's arguably a top 5 at 11, and then I can wait and take an offensive lineman at 23.
Oh, absolutely.
So
they could still get a top. They could get a top receiver at 11 if they wanted to go that route, and an offensive lineman for with their 23rd pick. That shores up that offense big time. They're still missing that quarterback though.
So I do. All right. So yeah, I think you could plan for life after Jefferson if you're not going to get Daniels. Right. And we're trying to sell a fan base on, by the way, Darnold can throw all the routes, whether, he looks great all the time.
He makes the boneheaded plays.
He does. But if we're not going to feed Jefferson because he might be moving on, we can help. Sam Darnold can sure feed the guy who we think is going to be the next guy. Okay. He can get that done. He can do that. Give him a little bit of offensive line help, and all of a sudden, we can Jefferson needs somebody that isn't afraid. Well, he needs somebody that isn't afraid, and I also believe that Jefferson wants a buddy. He wants,
Mhm.
he's on the marquee, but I think it certainly helps to have a guy share the spotlight with you. Wins and losses.
Yeah.
Wins and losses, like Burrow does for Chase. I think Jefferson wants to be more of a Jamar Chase and not have to do all the answering. He'll do the
Mhm.
commercials and the stuff that he likes to do. But let's be honest, he doesn't want all that.
Mhm.
Drake May is a fantastic talent. The only question I have with Drake May is he played in the ACC last year, and they weren't good. And he was the
But
best
no, they
player.
were good. They were good.
Florida State was better. Duke was better.
But Florida State had a lot more talent too, though.
No, I
Florida
get
State
that.
has talent on that team.
But LSU wasn't
2
great.
first rounders, 3 first
LSU
rounders.
wasn't great, and Jaden Daniels made great plays
Mhm.
on the national level. And
May made some great plays too. I like May. I love May. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to end up being the best quarterback in this draft class. I said that before, and I stand by it. I don't. Just to answer Nick's question real quick about May going third, I don't think he's there. I think the Redskins. I think Redskins. The Commanders draft him. That's who. That get big-eyed all you want. I'm still old school.
I got big-eyed at the nails. You can't say that.
But I think he gets drafted at number 2. So to be honest with you, I don't think he's there. I could honestly see you guys moving up to number 3 and grabbing Jalen Daniels. I really could see that.
I don't know if May could handle. I don't know if May can handle Washington, and I think Drake May is not going to have to deal with New York media as much as people think. Brian Dable will handle some of the stuff there, and he's a big enough guy.
You still say he's falling.
I don't want Drake May walking into a new coach. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather JJ McCarthy walk into a new coach, a new coaching situation, because JJ McCarthy walked in. JJ McCarthy walked into Michigan when Michigan was starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Jim Harbaugh was starting to get the wheels turning. He knows what a beginning looks like, and he knows what a good end looks like. To me, Drake May has seen the beginning of what a team could look like, but he was never really good enough. Like if he was so great, they should have won the ACC. You figure out ways to win.
And that's the thing. He did find ways to win. Who's their coach? Brown, from Texas is their coach there. He absolutely loved him.
Got a great coach.
Yeah, like I said, what I believe when it's all said and done, he's going to be the best one to come out. Now, I can see here just by looking at the draft position that where I see a scenario where Minnesota could stay at 11 and get JJ McCarthy.
If he slides, which I don't know if he's going to. Again, he was invited to that Commanders hangout the other day.
Yeah, yep.
It was
hangout.
In case you guys are wondering,
was that Top Golf, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a Top Golf with Commanders guys that the Commanders were considering on drafting. JJ McCarthy, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Michael Penix were all invited. So if you're wondering quarterbacks that they're considering at 2, those are the guys.
Yes, absolutely.
And they were trying to see how well they were, hanging out with the guys, developing with them. This is the type of stuff that makes Baker Mayfield. It just is.
This is something that Belichick did. He used to invite the top 12 guys that they were talking about drafting and see how they interacted with each other. Belichick used to do the same thing.
Yeah, because if you're a jerk, nobody wants you around.
Exactly. And if you're coming out complaining like Jalen Daniels did not come out complaining, to get this straight. The report is that his agent came out complaining.
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, the correct report was Jalen Daniels, nothing came out of his mouth where he was upset how he was treated, or that he didn't get one-on-one visit like a lot of other teams do. It was his agent that came out and was basically butthurt because he didn't get the one-on-one time with the execs that he thought he was going to get, and his client didn't get the one-on-ones that he thought he should get.
And let's start the rumor now. Let's start the rumor that we believe that Jayden Daniels has talked to Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson basically has said that I'm coming to New England.
Listen, the more and more you say this, the more and more I love it. I really do. I really, really do. That would be like, I think Justin Jefferson would be doing laps around his house if they drafted Jayden Daniels.
I'm explaining
what like a lab does. A lab just does laps when he gets excited. That's what Justin Jefferson would be doing.
I'm going to tell you guys what, saving money is great. It really is. But if you've saved money for so long, eventually it burns a hole in your pocket. Check your pockets. While you're listening to this podcast, you got $20 in there. It's Sunday. You could have fun with $20 or you could save it for the week, but the week's going to be tough. And I just think that it's been a couple of tough weeks and years in New England. And in case you guys wondered, Robert Kraft is not getting younger. He's not. He's getting older by the minute. And I believe that he wants to spend some money. And if he could get Jayden Daniels there, I'm telling you, I will guarantee that Justin Jefferson is coming.
Now, Justin Jefferson is in his 4th year, correct?
Yep.
So that means that the Vikings could technically could have him for another year with that 5th-year option next year.
They can. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I'm just saying. In all reality, the Vikings controls him for the next 2 years. Then this year and next year,
they do. But if my ankle starts to feel sore, tag me again. Because this ankle is going to keep feeling sore.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, and that's the game that athletes play, and I don't think it's necessarily fair or right. Kind of like I think the franchise tag should be 1 year. That's it. You get me for 1 year.
And then after that, you can't do it again.
After that, you can't do it again. Everything else is disingenuous. It's just
now,
you not wanting to pay me.
Just to be clear, next year would not be a franchise year. Next year would be his 5th round or 5th year option. Every first round pick is a team could exercise or decline the 5th year option. Just so everybody knows, that's just a bonus of being the team drafting you with their first overall pick. Now, if they pick up your 5th year option after that, then they can't franchise you. So if you want to get technical, they could have him for the next 3 years then. Yeah, and how you get around that is if he doesn't show up for practice, it's $100,000 every time he doesn't show up.
Are we is that what this is going to turn into?
Yes,
us talking about practice.
That's what we're talking about. Practice again. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Fine, we'll talk about practice as long as you put my statue in front of the practice facility.
All right,
Greg, is there anything else you want to cover?
A couple things here. Since we are talking about the Patriots, let's briefly talk about Bill Belichick. News came out from the owner of the Falcons that Robert Kraft said he cannot be trusted. What's that all about?
I kind of think that it was the time where they were moving on from Tom Brady. I kind of get this feeling that, when Bill Belichick was trying to move on, and Robert Kraft wanted his favorite son to be re-signed and negotiated with fairly, and helped in his later years. And Tom, I think, has made a visit to Robert Kraft's house more than one time, even though it's only been reported that he went there once. And I really believe that, he went there and he's like, look, I'm taking pay cuts every year. I'm not in the top 5 pay. I'm taking less to get a little bit of help on offense. And, Wes is gone, trying to keep Julian. I need some talent around me. And I think Bill Belichick told Kraft that they were going to do their best to get Tom some extra help. and he didn't do any of it.
Yeah.
He didn't go out and even lend a hand. Antonio Brown was Tom Brady.
Mhm.
It was his last chance. It was him going. I think that Antonio Brown situation was Tom putting pressure on the organization.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely.
I'm done with this, huh?
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yes.
I'm done with working with nothing
Mhm.
every single year.
Yeah.
Get me some guys. Give me some guys to help Gronk and Julian get open a little bit
Mhm.
better. We're all getting a little bit older.
Mhm.
You know, they got in this little weird space, kind of where Golden State is now,
Mhm.
right? Where some of the guys who made it for you are getting a little bit older. If we just add a little bit more spice in there, right, we can make the meal taste fresh again.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And I think that's what Tom was asking for. Bill promised it as the go-between and never got any results. And Tom gave him opportunities and finally went, Robert, you know, I've been dealing with this for a little while now. Our relationship will always stay the same, but I don't trust what he's doing here.
Mhm.
All the help's going to the defense, and I'm having to remake the offense every year with less and less.
Mhm.
It kind of feels like he's trying to prove to you that I don't have it anymore.
Mhm.
That's the problem in New England.
Okay. All right. Um, I got a couple stories about New England here that I learned over the week.
Okay.
Got a Belichick story and a Tom Brady story. We'll go
Okay.
with the Belichick story first, since we're talking about the how Belichick is a can't be trusted.
Mhm.
We all know he's a Bill Parcells disciple.
Yeah.
Anybody knows anything about football knows that they go hand in hand. They're basically the same person. Uh, Ty Law told this story. He said,
Mm.
when Bill Parcells interviewed me to be drafted, the one thing that stood out to me that he said is, "Oh, you have that agent? We won't draft you because you have that agent." All right. He tells him this to see how he will react and see if he drops that agent or not. Now, Ty Law's telling this story. He goes, "I'm not going to drop my agent. There's no way. Like, who the hell is this guy? I got 30 or 20 at the time, like 29 other teams are dying to draft me right now. I'm the best corner coming out. You
Mhm.
know, I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that." What does he do? He ends up drafting him. We all know that. So it goes years down the road, and it's now it's Belichick in charge. Comes time for Ty Law's contract negotiations. Uh, or sorry, the final year of his contract.
Okay.
He's thinking that he's going to get an extension, blah blah blah. Belichick comes up to him during warmups. He's stretching. He comes up. He goes, "Oh, so your contract's coming up next year. What do you think about taking a pay cut this year so we could sign blah 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 blah?" And Ty
Mm.
Law's like, "Listen, I ain't gonna cut my money for nobody. Like, like no."
Yeah.
And that's basically what he told Belichick. Well, Belichick went to one of his buddies, Ty Law's buddies that's on the team,
Yeah.
and for him to go up and tell him this: "Listen, if you don't take the contract, uh, take a regression in contract, a
Mhm.
contract cut, we're going to have to cut your other buddy." And he wouldn't say who his buddy was on the team that they were
Mhm.
going to cut. And
Yeah.
Ty Law goes straight up to the other guy. He goes, "Well, see ya. Well, I know we're buddies, but I'm not
Yeah.
giving up my money for you."
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it came down to it, and he goes, "Belichick eventually came up to me after the teammate did, and I told him that." He came up to me and he said they worked it out to where he ended up making a little bit more money the next year to take the pay cut, but that's not initially how they were presented. So Belichick is sneaky. I wouldn't say he's untrustworthy. I'm just saying he's sneaky. He wanted he wanted Tom Brady out a couple years before he even left. He wanted Garoppolo in there. He thought he
Yeah.
was the next guy. He's
Mhm.
like, he's younger. We're going to get him in. We like him. Brady's past his prime. Well, we all know that was a lie, but he wanted him
Right.
out sooner than then. So I'm just trying to put into perspective that how Belichick is. He is sneaky.
Well, I think this was a shot. I really do, right? So Belichick got Tom out.
Hmm.
Didn't work out. Lost.
No,
That's an L.
no. Worked out for Tom, but didn't work out for him.
Tom. Big L for Bill.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things going on here, right? Tom went out, and not only did he win another Super Bowl, he won another Super Bowl with Gronkowski.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every opportunity he's gotten to take shots at Bill Belichick, he takes the high road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tom, he always says, he goes, that's between me and Bill. I appreciate the opportunities that he gave me early on. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the opportunities later.
Mm-hmm.
He always takes the high road. And when you watch the two Bills, and I talk about this all the time, Belichick and Parcells, Belichick was a good working partner for Parcells, but he was never his friend.
Correct.
And Belichick thought that he was his friend until he screwed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Brady thought that, Belichick would always go to bat for him until he found out that he was more Parcells than he really bargained for. So he screwed him. Yeah. And this is Kraft going, hey, look I've golfed with Arthur Blank my whole life. I love Arthur Blank. We've had dinner parties, me and the family. We like the Blanks. I don't think he'll enjoy your company very long. And I've gotten the Super Bowls and I've done this, that, and the other thing, but I'm not going to let you do what you did here to my friend in Atlanta. So guess what? I'm going to let him know that you probably shouldn't trust everything to Bill Belichick. By the way, Bill Belichick was trending towards a winning coach in Cleveland. And I know Cleveland gets a lot of things wrong. But they were starting to transcend and go to the playoffs and wild cards, and he had it going in the right direction.
And they had some players on that team too. Oh, they were drafting well.
Get lost. Get out of here. Get lost. I always think it's interesting how people, we talk about Pete Carroll, right, being shown upstairs. And Bill Belichick being shown the door. And I think he was shown the door much the way he showed other players the door. He was treated exactly at the end how he treated all the other players at the end.
Totally agree.
Your services are no longer useful here.
Yep.
Goodbye. Good day.
Yeah.
Good day. Get out. Because Cleveland said, yeah, you're winning here. But you know what? You don't send me my wife flowers on her birthday. In fact, you don't even say happy birthday.
Yeah.
Get out. I mean, that's to me, that's the whole story. And Robert Kraft is willing to tell it because as you get older, you kiss less asses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You don't think you need to anymore.
And Kraft goes, you know what? I didn't like the way you did things here. You won Super Bowls. Good. But I'm no longer interested in that.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
No, I agree. 100% with your evaluation on that. All right. My other story, Tom Brady story. Elderman was telling us. He was on one of the podcasts that I was watching. I forget, to be honest, which one it was, but it was a former NFL player. He's telling Tom Brady's story. He goes, I was my first couple years with the Patriots. I was trying to get Brady to recognize me any way he can. He wanted nothing to do with me. Nothing. And he's like, well, he goes, finally, I noticed that everybody was living in the off season out towards LA. And he'd get together with his wide receivers out there and they would have like mini camps out there. So he's like, me and Tom, we had the same agent. So he goes, I called my agent. I told him, listen, let Tom know that I'm going to move out there. Reach out to me. I'd like to get involved with this. So he goes, finally, Tom did. Finally, Tom called me. He's like, listen, be at this place such and such time. And we're going to work through this.
Yeah.
And Welsh Welker, he was all Elderman. He was so happy. He's like, finally, I'm going to stop from this little peon in the locker room to gradually move up. Because he said he called himself a dick slap. He goes, every locker room, there's different tiers. You got your superstars, you got your role players, and then you got your dick slaps. He goes, I was a dick slap. So he goes, finally, I won't be a dick slap anymore. At least graduate to a role player. He goes, first 10 routes we're going, and we're going right down the field, 10 plays at a time, no rest. Boom, 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 boom. He goes, we get past, we get into the end zone. Tom goes, no, that's not a touchdown. That's not a touchdown. There was holding. Get back here. He goes, at this point, we're running 12 routes in a row, like back to back to back. I'm dying here. He goes, I'm looking up at Tom and let's take a little break, but he's afraid to say anything. So finally, Tom goes like 4 plays in a row down in the red zone. No holding, penalty, back up, penalty, back up. He goes, finally, I'm starting to throw up on the field. Tom yells down to me. He goes, if you want to get off the field, get your ass off the field. Just like that. He's like, did I get off the field? Hell no. He goes, I just sucked it up. I stayed on it. And well, that's just shows how Tom Brady was. He was a business guy first. Then as soon as you got in his group, you were part of his circle.
Huh.
But yeah, I thought that was a interesting story from Elderman. Like, just constant running routes, getting ready to puke. Brady yells down, listen, you want to get off the field? Get your ass off the field then. And he's like, no, I need to man up.
And maybe it's that old story of I've heard, I'm sure everybody's heard the adage, iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the iron versus the iron was Belichick versus Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it was Belichick going, you'll make it work with the players I bring in here, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom sitting there going, yeah, but I don't have the same ethic, I don't have the Edelmans that are willing to die on the battlefield anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So find me those guys. And
yeah.
Bill thought he was, and Tom finally got to the point where he went, you haven't found those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because talent.
He had one with Troy Brown, and then Welker, and then Elderman. So in three different stages of his career, he had that guy.
But maybe he sat there and he went, these guys you're not finding anymore. So find talent.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, he found talent from other teams. He didn't draft the talent.
No.
Welker was what with the Dolphins.
Special
Elderman.
Teams.
Where was Elderman? I forget. Elderman was with, I think, the Dolphins. Was he with the Dolphins too?
No, he was. I believe he was drafted by the Patriots.
Was he drafted by the Patriots? But he was a quarterback.
He was a quarterback.
Yeah. And then they brought Randy Moss in. But as drafting anybody,
it was a joke that he said he would make the quarterback a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I understand how and why it worked, but it would never work again. Or, that's not true.
I can't say, you can't say it's not true. You need a player with the right mindset. And Elderman had that right mindset where he was going to be good no matter what situation he was put in.
I would compare the Patriots situation over the past 20 years. And I think the stories are going to come out probably not in the greatest limelight. But I think that some of the Patriots stories that are going to come out over the next 10 years or about 20 years are going to look a lot like the stories that came out of Indiana with Bob Knight. I really believe that. So if you look at every single story that came out about Bob Knight, it was, the public saying this, or it was, some of the facility people saying certain things. But the players all stuck up for him. It was like Stockholm syndrome. They didn't know any other way. If you had a guy from the old regime there, like a senior, he would teach you, he would show you the barracks. He would show you what Bob likes, what Bob does. And as long as you had that fourth-year senior, Bob Knight only really got into trouble when juniors started leaving and not becoming fourth-year seniors. And I think, so New England ran into the same trouble. They had Tom, Teddy, Mike, but once they only had Tom and Julian and Gronk, it started getting different.
Yeah.
Once you got new players that were like, dude, this is crazy in here. You started getting into problems. I think Bill Belichick, and this will happen again. You'll have another coach take over such a bad organization, and you'll see this again. It's happened. It's happened too many times. Indiana, New England, right? All this happens. But where's it going to happen? I don't know. But it'll happen again.
Oh, absolutely. Another thing I want to touch on real quick is a report that we had last week about the 49ers, about Brandon Ayuk requesting a trade. That came out that it was false. He did not request a trade. He did scrub, as we said, all 49ers from his social media, but he did not request a trade. I just want to clear that up. And I also want to say that he did report to day one of off-season minicamp, off-season workouts. Yeah. So for a guy that doesn't want to be there, he showed up for day one. You know what other starter wide receiver didn't show up for day one? Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Here's the way I look at things. You can read, and there's a lot of stuff that we'll be reading into in the NFL offseason because, quite frankly, it's just as interesting, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Our fantasy football leagues depend on it. To know where this player movement's going to happen and where it's going. But trade is, it's almost like to prosecute, right? That's a legal term, right? But if I blame you for something, it's the same thing. I'm prosecuting you.
Yeah.
Right. Trade is an agent's word. If Brandon Ayuk was like, get me out of here at any time, right? Whatever. You hear him saying that or whatever, he's upset. He's like, he goes, I could really be gone. That Brandon Ayuk request trade. He didn't request anything, right?
Yeah, nothing.
He's showing up. He's still doing all the right things. I think that the 49ers organization is an organization that if you show up and do the right things, they'll do right by you.
Absolutely. They've shown it in the past that they do.
So maybe he does want to be a number one on a team, or maybe he does want to move out of town for whatever reason. I'm not sure. It's best that he shows up to an organization that will do right by you.
Absolutely.
So there is a little bit of smoke here. Not quite fire yet.
No.
Could
no, I just wanted to clear up the reports. If we report something, we report it because we've heard it, we've cross-checked it, and we assume that it is facts. If we find out at some point that it's not, we will tell you, even if it's a week later.
You know what?
So, like I said, I just wanted to clear that up a little bit. I thought that was interesting. So read into it as you want. What's that?
The rumor's been Pittsburgh. I mean, would you take the 20th pick in the first round for Brandon Ayuk?
20th pick plus something else. You'd have to give me a player. You have to give me a player in there. I mean, I want a player. I don't want. He was drafted. Oh God, what 26 somewhere in there? Ayuk was drafted somewhere in there. I could bring it up, but I'm pretty sure that's right around that. Yeah,
getting younger.
Yeah, but still, I think he's worth more than that. I really do. I think he's worth more than just one first-round pick, low first-round pick to begin with. Now, you want to talk about a top 10 pick, then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh's not in the top 10.
Yeah, no. It's like I said, you want to give us your first round and Pickens, we'll take that.
Oh,
that's fair to me.
I don't think you want to play that game. I don't think you want to play. I don't think George Pickens and Kyle Shanahan get along.
Well, it's one of those things. You give me a player that I could hang my hat on for right now. Whether he works out is a whole nother thing. But you're giving me a player of the same position, younger, somebody that's proven they could catch the ball, and plus you're giving me a top 20 pick. Okay.
Yeah, I think Pickens would need a guy like almost like he has now in Tomlin, or he would need a McVay because McVay would know how to get it out of him. Like Kyle Shanahan's he's been a coach, but he's never been a real athlete. McVay's was.
No. I mean, he did play college football. He was a wide receiver.
No, but I'm
So,
saying McVay was Mr. Georgia in the state of
mhm,
Georgia, and
mhm,
Calvin Johnson took 2nd place to him, just
mhm.
to give you a heads up.
Okay, all
That's what
right.
kind of athlete Sean McVay was.
Mhm,
People are like, "Oh, he's running down the field super fast." Yeah, it probably could play. Like,
mhm,
McVay could probably suit up.
mhm.
That's, like, to me, that's a real thing.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Like I said, I just think that's interesting, that, or sorry, not interesting, but I think that's the only trade partner that we have right now is the Steelers. They really want him.
Yeah, and, it could get done. If you're sitting around pick 17 and somebody fell that San Francisco is in love with,
Mhm.
I mean, you
Uh,
go, "Okay."
Interesting, article came out on ESPN. They were, talking about it. They brought up the Chargers. They
Really?
drafted a first-round wide receiver last year that didn't pan out for them. So they really can't trust the organization to draft a wide receiver. So why not trade? They were saying the Niners give up the 31st pick and Brandon Ayuk for the 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
that. I like that trade too.
that's okay. I still think that Johnson will flourish. I think there
What's
was
this
Mike
now?
I think Quentin Johnson out of TCU, I think he's a good wide receiver,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
think that, what you were asking him to do, last year was run go routes, and that's not
Mhm.
necessarily what he does, you know?
Mhm.
So I think give him a better opportunity. Year 2, give him, he kind of flourishes when he gets in open space. And I know you have to create some of your own, but I think if you make it easy for a guy, right, he feels more like he can play. I think last year the Chargers were a mess.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think he got any favors, and I think he will this year. A man with confidence, an athlete with confidence is much greater than an athlete searching.
Mhm.
And I think that he was searching a lot last year. He had a couple of games here and there, but I mean, he was going up against, you know, +1 corners. Not the top corner, but really good secondary corners, slapping his hands, hitting him in the waist. Like, they were testing the rookie. And I
Mhm.
understand that, but I think Harbaugh will do a better job scheming for him.
Oh, I totally agree. I
Yeah.
definitely agree that Harbaugh will, do a better job scheming for him.
And
Um,
he's one
I'm
of our
just
guys, I
saying
believe.
that it's interesting. They did make a valid point, though. Like, if they really wanted to upgrade the receiving core, that would be a perfect route to go.
He's one of our guys. I think that this year you'll be looking at in fantasy football drafts. I think that you'll start hearing camp buzz about him very
Mhm.
quickly. I
Okay.
just I could see, Harbaugh going to him, going, "Hey, look, you're the draft pick. They took
Mhm.
you. Justin Herbert, he's our quarterback. We've got nobody else."
Mhm.
I don't know what else needs to be said here.
Mhm.
And at that point, is he fantastical? No. Is he
Mhm.
Michael Crabtree? Hmm.
Uh, could
It
be.
c Right.
Could be. Mhm.
So, that's the way I kinda look at it.
Which I was ecstatic when we first drafted him with the 10th pick in the draft. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Yes!" Oh, boy, was I wrong.
No, they weren't. He had moments. His
Yeah, he
moments
had moments, but he didn't with the top 10 pick, you're expecting somebody that is gonna be, top guy in your organization's history with a top 10 wide receiver.
well, I don't
And
think I mean, Jerry Rice lives, so
yeah, Jerry
doesn't
Rice will
play anymore,
always
but he
live.
lived.
And
Huh?
hopefully his son will be living, in, San Francisco coming up. Well,
No,
technically Santa Clara, but,
you don't want that.
I do want him. I do want him. And like for like a 6th round pick, absolutely I want him. Bring him in the
Mhm.
building, see what happens. I
Marcus
want him.
Jordan.
I want McCaffrey's brother. I want all those guys. All those
Marcus
guys that has brothers or fathers that played in NFL, give me them all.
Marcus Jordan, Bronny James, Jerry Rice's kid, the last name's fun, but they never live up to their father's
No, they
expectations.
they
The
don't.
only
They
one that
don't,
really
but,
could.
I would like to have that chance. Why not?
If anybody's kid you want, it's gonna be Marvin Harrison Jr.'s. Marvin
Dude, I
Harrison.
mean, uh, incredible talent, incredible talent. I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. Cannot wait.
I can't wait to draft him in the first round of my fantasy drafts and watch
Oh,
every
go right ahead. You'll be,
can't believe you did that. I'm gonna go. Yeah, have fun with Saquon Barkley on the bench for 4 weeks.
Well, we'll see about that. That's something that we're going to be discussing after the draft. We will discuss our fantasy rankings after the draft.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm itching.
Yeah, I know. See if anybody drops. See if we still love the people we love, because there's going to be a lot of shakeup.
I got that fantasy itch.
I could tell. All
right, I got nothing else.
Me neither. That should probably do it for this week. We had a nice one. Just to let everybody know, this is something Jack and I are going to be doing every week. It is a process that we are still going through. We will have changes every week. We are trying to make our podcast better every week, better graphics for you. This week, you've seen we had a scroll on the bottom. We have your comments up on the board. So keep those comments coming in. Keep those questions coming in. We'll answer them right away. Doesn't matter if we're on that topic or not. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll jump right to your topic and discuss it. But we love the interaction with everybody. That really ups our game here. So just to let you know, every single week we will be getting better. So just stick with us, and I can't wait till the season starts.
Guys, Sunday, come hanging out with us. Old Gamer, Greg Kratzer, Jack Neary, Fantasy Farm Sports. Come hang out with us, right? ESPN, Barstool Sports, blah, blah. Come hang out with us.
That's right. Check us out over on Fantasy Farms. Jack has some great articles up on there. Hopefully I will get some articles up there at some point. But he has a lot of great reads over there. So check that out over there.
Oh, thanks so much, Greg.
Absolutely. Well, on that case, we will work our way out of here then. Everybody have a great night. A little music there. Plays like that. Let's see how this goes. And we are out.
We're out of here.